Tragedy, the number. I bet the song. Tata. Sanji, Jomdin, the Longzi, Nana, Hongrami, some Kangi Jabja, or Martini, the system just Sanjela, Chupa, comes from the same Jela, me by.
So first, hello and thank you. I'm all of here for being here. And so first I offer you this milk coming from the Buddha's begging bowl. The Buddha worked hard for 3 endless aeons for the sake of beings. This is the essence of this milk contained in this milk tea. And I'm offering this to all the Buddhas of the 3 times and giving it as a gift to all sentient beings of the 3 realms.
Oh, that's it.
Shidela Rinpoche.
Yo, yeah, go to it.
Oh, it's all out.
Yo, to the Chang Dewi Man.
Devoy Rinpoche, go to Devoy Rinpoche.
그저가지 시알았더니 다다데 산지 좀디데 그서 잠벨리 주록데 망보 요리 주록을 남으로 요리 주록 삼지지는 주록데 또 생기 때문에 연구 요리 돈 가래데 세대 되지 내가 고도 세는 세지 또자 던로지는 내가 고도 가래 니마 차원을 잡고는 요리 들이 속자 도망을 봐 근데 나피 자문을 사올 내게 요리 대답이 오 내가 되게 시험을 뛰는 내가 토고도 내가 고도 차이티 살아들이 담비 주록던 직림으로 이송 들이 주록 다 주록만 못 정물이 주록 잡시가 또 샘들고도 들이 직림으로 잡시가 다 세계띠의 야기를 똥거도 이제 인생이 다 작업소도 작업도 들이 시동서 들이 같이 시동 잡고서 라방미 와서 양 작업해서 같이 그냥 시동 로로서 망설이 되지요 봐서 따와니 거는 들이 이는 세배 내한테 듣고서 뒤비을 때 지과래 산지 주력 탐지게 또샘 대화리도 샘도 대화 톤나 샘도 대화 가이가 도고도 샘도 대화에서 찌와가 도고도 찌와고도 찌와 이제 야네 다다다 사실 좀 이제 잠이 있으면 강해잖아 찌와도 가도 돼 찌와도 오 마당 보고 말한다 혹시 들이 찌와도 무슨 무슨 통하요 말라고 했어요 말 근데 싸고 탑도 왜 오싸고 탑도 돼 사실이 싫어 찌와 싸시요래 싸디 토라만 좋아 가리다고 자고도 따다고 자 따주바고도 사실 싫어들이 이 바로도서 막 톡거리 딱고 깔래잖네 바로도서 막 톡거리 뉴 막 톡대 매버당네 따대 바로도서 막 톡거리 탑을 따지와 싸고 탑지 찌와서 샘는 거네 내네 들이 거기 샘게 다 이와데 찌와 하다 제잘 들이 인피장장 자소는들이 다 라미 메가 차로래 거기 때 하고 오 찌하고도 찌하고 다 매들이 동에도 샘지 동에서 다리도 대하고네 들이 대와 딱 대버졌다 대버졌지 대사지를 남겨냈지
So I want to say a few words. Now in this world, we find many different religions, and all the different religions actually come from within the mind. They originate from within the mind. And the main purpose of any spiritual path, of any religion, is happiness. Beings want to experience happiness, and they want to. And that is the main purpose, the intention of any spiritual path. And for example, even an animal or a sentient being with lower intelligence, they have the intelligence to seek their own happiness, trying to find their own happiness. For example, when it's very hot outside, and they seek shelter under a rock, for example. They seek the shade. Or when it's very cold, then they go into the sun to feel warmer. That is a skillful means that a natural method that comes from their intelligence and the mind that naturally seeks. So this through wisdom that we essentially find happiness. So that is the main purpose of any religions or spiritual path in the world. And this is really where we make they're going to make a boundary between. This is the crossroads between the mundane system and the spiritual systems. In the mundane world of the human beings, main focus is on improving the outer conditions of people. And the main purpose of the inner of the systems, which is the spiritual systems, is to improve the mind, for the mind to find happiness. So in the outer level, countries have developed, and many of them have become very prosperous, developing outer conditions. But still, we all share that same goal inside, that we want to attain happiness. So all of the different religions teach essentially a way to find happiness within the mind. So how can we really find happiness within the mind? So the Buddha had realized that true inner happiness is only found through by cultivating love. And this is realizing this, the Buddha endured hardships, had made a great effort for 3 endless aeons. Cultivate this mind of bodhicitta, this mind of love and patience. And now, since the Buddha had laid out this path, we don't need to practice for such a long time. To improve our love, to improve our mind, we mainly also need to improve the patience within us. So the Buddha essentially overcame all the afflictive emotions, 6 afflictive emotions, by making an effort in the 6 paramitas, which are based on love. And he realized this is the way for the 6 afflictive emotions to disappear. So he realized that when love truly arises in the mind, and if one only cares for the benefit of others, then naturally self-grasping ceases to be. But the Buddha then realized what beings need. They need love. This is how we tame the mind. It is cultivating love. When there is no self-grasping, then there's also no suffering for sentient beings. So he understood that the root of all is grasping. That is why then the Buddha made this prayer. The Buddha said this line: "May beings out of happiness and the causes of happiness."
산지 좀 되게다. 오, 샘진 탐지 동네 그 전나 들이 콜로 잡주지. 고조들을 잡초르시. 고조들을 잡초는 물에 잡다고 왜 잡다고 그래지. 들이 대회 데렸더니 들이 산지에서다 보고 산지 보면 산지 방법 다 장미 봐 패비오리들이 보면 산지 집티 좀 말해. 집티 좀 말게 들이 뭔가 담자 담고 가리 야요래잖아. Si kang si ta jek pe je jor kang te kun e cha ma jek she de te mo cha shu chi o ta san je sa bi je wa sa le cha shu na cha shu la to ma kai che go do o cha go la chu la cha ji de go le cha shu kai che go cha shu la to ma cha shu ro na se mi ji ba zo ye se mi ji de je go le 가을에서 샘집한테 쏘래. 샘집한테 가르치는 거리들. 제가 딱 봐도 나 같은 것도 왔어. 자꾸 먹어지는 다들 일렙도 왔어. 뒤잡대는 다 이기는 거리들 삼재라고요. 동네만 답대 돌지. 단디 데리 동네에서 왔더니 온 거리. 뒤지는 이비들이 조포사지 민심을 나오면서 뭐로서 이제부터 탑진도 왜 아때 갖고서 왜 이제부터 말이지 오늘 마 보기니 마 되게 보고서 되게는 마랑 되게도 삼고다는지 마 되게랑 소체송아 다 보고 때 마셔는 삼주면 나 소거진 삼주지금 오야 다들이 마 삼주나 이래 샘지 삼주를 보고 나게 드시던 거래스
Yes, can you just hear me clearly? It is
고통해
Kosong Konso. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay. So the Buddha saw all sentient beings and their suffering. And therefore, the Buddha taught them to seek refuge in the three jewels. And you may wonder that if I seek refuge in the three jewels, they really provide protection. So the answer is yes. And so that is why the Buddha had made this effort for endless aeons. And from that have emerged countless other Buddhas, male and female Buddhas. For example, Tara is a female Buddha. And she made the vow before attaining enlightenment that I will protect all from the fears of existence. And bring them to liberation, freedom from suffering. So, but now, if you understand that you need to go for refuge, so what do you need to do next? What's the first thing required in taking refuge? It is that the first step in taking refuge is to cultivate the motivation of bodhicitta. And so, what is this motivation? Is mind generation of bodhicitta. Normally, you only think about me, me, me. You just can't help it. Even if you don't actually want to think about me, yourself, you just habitually only think of yourself. You just can't help it. So that is what we first need to change. Because if you think about others, then this is to become a Buddha in the 37 Bodhisattva practices. It is said, suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. The perfect Buddhas rise from the altruistic mind. This is how all the perfect Buddhas become Buddhas. They acted only for the benefit of others. So hearing that, you may think that, well, that's difficult. I just can't think of others all the time. But you start by thinking of the love that a mother has for her child. For example, if it came to life and death, the mother would have no hesitation to give her own life. She would save her child before she would save her own life. So such is a mother's love for her child. So this is then the love that we take and then extend toward all sentient beings, seeing all sentient beings as one's own children. And so this is what the Buddha taught in how to cultivate love. So.
Oh, this 사는 거 속에 동의를 잡지는 다다 동의 청청들은 고소들로 잡고 고소들로 잡지는 민족한도 없이 다 살지 같이 제 손을 오래지 동의도 다 강조 동의도 다 단디 레사 레팅 코만 코와든 대차 코로 잡아도 다리샤지 다 있는 다티 다 가지게 되는 잡을링 착각은 다른 토소나 나 잡을링 토도 나는 토요 말이죠. 나 잡은 토요 말이지. 다 다른 아디 공원에 다들 다 꼬라잖아. 잠시는 차롬도 잠시는 꼬라잖아. 로요리지. 다 들리 동에나 만나서 대동 드라마다 들리 먹기와 시에는 동에 마와 대화 시에는 대화 때서 요아 소리라서 대화 넌 너를 대동 주마 진체비 봐. 들이 못한 톡토는 이 소속도 동에 줄라메바 다대통령 동에 동 작봉으로 될 용도 다대 출인 토토금도 나디 토토금 말이지 잡을링 토소나 토토금도 가서 것도 처습니다 들이셔도 나 시성상 아주 큰 로요래 들이스테는 나들다 레사야 보자마 코바 토마메도 뒤들은 로요래 뒤들 요래 대외에 뒤동하지 마셔야 라가 우드살이 사는 거리 때문에 우리 동네에 다 앉으셔야 돼. 이 매부터 강신을 못해서 다 주더니 인생이 이게 뭐지나 삼바 재미게 다 주다. 버티를 때도 돌성스. 들이 돈다고 대바 다 통하는 돈다 다 용을 딱 제대로 깝들이 다 매바통 다 주네. 토도 다 주 상계의 토성 상계의 가로 다 줄래 동해 요매 동해 요매서 다 요매들 다 요말이지 지금 다 가리지 상들은 샘코가 내려가고서 샘코가 눈이 내려서 남가는 길이지 내가 지금 버리 남가는 집을 가지고 가게 요말 다 대로 상계 당근이 집어리 तेरे चेसी दंगे में कार में नाकारों ने दर्शन सोचा योगदान कार क्या दो पायों में तेरे उतना दंगे में भी देवासी वो छोड़ थोड़ा योरे ते तब रंग दांती ते शेर ने रंग सेंग देरों थोंग सोना सोच ते देवासी थोंग करे ऐसे ते सांचे देवा तेरे ऐसों
And so, but then, so when we seek protection from suffering, so what does that mean now? To seek refuge in the three jewels. So one may think that I have a problem going for refuge in the three jewels. Then their problem doesn't go away. Then maybe they become doubtful. They think it's not working. So here, what we really need to understand when we seek refuge from suffering is that what is the root of suffering? The root of suffering is self-grasping. Because we grasp at a self, we accumulate karma. And that karma then creates samsara. Therefore, the root of samsara is this me, the I. So what is this I, this self? Even if the world were to come to an end today, the I, the me, does not disappear still. It continues to wander. There's this me, kind of block of ice floating on the ocean that keeps going on. Then from this, all sorts of happiness and suffering. There is more non-virtue there will be more suffering. If there is some virtue, then there will be a little happiness. But in brief, happiness and suffering will continue to unfold endlessly. If one has committed a greater non-virtue, which we have for the most part, we spend a longer time in the 3 lower realms where we experience unbearable suffering an endlessly long time. So what we need to understand is that even if the world were to be destroyed, self still is not destroyed. It goes on. Or when you die today, the self does not die. That I goes on, and it brings with it all the karma that you have accumulated since beginningless. These karmic imprints will continue to project your appearances, as your perceptions. So the actual root of all thing is this. So once you understand that, then next you think, so then what is the method for removing that self-grasping? So that method is compassion and the altruistic mind. If you cultivate immeasurable love for others, self-grasping will go away. And ultimately, you will then see your true nature, the nature of mind. When the self has gone away and you can clearly see your true nature, what you see is that there is no real self that actually exists. Seeing that, you attain the state of Buddhahood. And in the state of Buddhahood, there is no suffering, because whether or not we suffer depends entirely on whether or not there is a. And so Buddhahood, Sangye in Tibetan, means understanding your true nature. Your true nature is like space. Space is always at ease, always free from suffering. There is no suffering in space. Within space, the sufferings of birth and death do not exist. Even a nuclear bomb cannot affect space in any way. When you attain Buddhahood, you attain great bliss that is free from all suffering. So when the self disappeared, is when you see your true nature. When you see your true nature, you attain true happiness. So this is what the Buddha called true, lasting happiness. So
제라 되는 다 담주 공부 저거는 성리 다다다 취대배 망보도 취지 보고 제제도 망보도 항상 그래 그 강리 그 취고 저도 되나 그 공부 말씀을 뭐 남의 성리 지금 코로나 남좀 코르도 붙여서 코르 탑재 동남 실험이데 코르를 막 제발이면 주코는 제발이 요래 다 특별한 바이게 특별한 바시 바데 시합 제정고린 제하고 요래 시합 제정고는 같이 참하고서 야 같이 데이터 하고서 같이 데려 하고 와들 마도 봐어다 산제데 타바닥고 나들에지 나와 산제에 따왔 추시바 타바닥고 나들에지 이제 뒤가면 데려다 완전히 소재요. 오, 강남님아 취직이 어때서 뱅에도 졸람상 못 차는데 따왔죠 이거. 야. 오, 동네에는 등이 매번 대화 친구들 취직 도고도 학교를 얼마지 그래. 강남 말씀 되는지 차요래. 대다고 때 주 풍부 제세지도 요새는 호를 또 붙을리들이 더 탑을 뻔콜이 따와도 쭉 삼지들이甚至강사를 막 로예 제라 제다와 제총 도몽 특바에 주주콜로 거기서 강사 소수 로다들이 주망 와서 들이 망보 차요레스
quote that comes from the Gongchik that many of the Khenpos and the scholars are teaching on. And so this quote, this teaching speaks about the essence of all the different teachings, because there are so many teachings. We speak about 84,000 different dharma collect. So the Gongji teaches the purpose of there being 84,000 teachings. And so it says that the purpose of the 84,000 collections of teachings is for followers of three capacities who realize the ultimate meaning. And so there are many different ways of understanding, and people have different capacities, and so there is a need for different levels of teachings. There are some individuals who instantly understand everything the way it is when you tell them. And then there is others who understand a little of. Then there is some who may understand, but they don't really have a wrong understanding. So they misunderstand. For example, there is some views in the world that exist in this world that say that any religion is like poison. Poison is toxic. Therefore, the Buddha Dharma is toxic. So views do exist in the world. Then there's other people who think that religions are good. They help us have good conduct, a good behavior. But the actual purpose of the Dharma is to attain that state of great bliss that is free from suffering. But in order to realize that, there are three levels of individuals. There's different levels of teachings, depending on three levels of mental capacities. But essentially, even though there are many teachings, they are all for the purpose of realizing one's true nature. So the 84,000 collections of Dharma teachings were all taught to realize the nature of one's mind. And in one of the prayer, it says that our opening prayer where we request the teachings, we said that please turn the wheel of Dharma according to the mental capacities of sentient beings. And Nirmanakaya's emanations appear in various ways in order to benefit beings according to their capacity. And so due to there being a great variety of capacities, many teachings have been given. So Rinpoche?
Oh. Tani sangye hebe gongpang tabadere sangde na tani danzi dan yunmama tamas pa sango re tani nang shirap dershik jumbo je tabgo yore tisana tani sunam sa go re sunam sa na sunam shibade kare ti tabla ta tani daji de danzi be sunam shibade yinpi ge lunga yisam sawa tamala go yore tani lunga yisam sawa la tani just come tam chiga tani rarang lude jibje di tabla shirap zoga mani yin tani tani de la sawa tam chiga da de zoga chen do yore de tani na xi dong huo men chen yi song tani meli rinpo chen de da zhowa re zhoga na meli rinpo chen re de kaya xie xi ba ne lok tak jie dang xi ba tani meli de san jie ge ting re song sapin ke dengi jam tin nu jerba lu de da tang da mo je song le pe ju tong ma sin lu de da xin bo re dengi jam tin nu lu de song sa ta pe sa je le xie na song re
And then so to attain the state of Buddhahood, we must eliminate self-grasping mainly. And so again, Buddhahood means, Buddha means Sangye in Tibetan. The first syllable means to clear. So what must be cleared away is grasping and the afflictive emotions. So that is what must be purified. What must be purified is self-grasping and the afflictive emotions. Then the second syllable is ye, sangye, and ye means to expand. So what must expand is the wisdom of your Buddha nature. And so in order to do that, we have to accumulate merit. What is merit? Merit is essentially the altruistic things that we do through the three doors of body, speech, and mind. Virtuous activities we do with body, speech, and mind without Krishnas. So now ordinary beings in the world, they mainly cherish their own bodies. Their efforts are all focused only on preserving their body, protecting their own bodies. They're only for themselves, and they hold the self as most important. But then the Buddha taught that we have a precious human life. The definition of a human being is one who can understand meaning and express meaning. And among the 6 realms of samsara, it is said that the human being has a greater capacity, because as human beings, we are able to express, to speak, we can understand something, we can think and analyze something. And so that's why the Buddha spoke about this precious human body. Sakya Pandita wrote in the Sakya lecture, the excellent, the words of advice of Sakya, says that ordinarily the body is like an enemy that plunges you into the ocean of suffering. So meaning that if we misuse it, if we don't use the body properly, then it will become an enemy dragging you into the ocean of samsaric suffering.
That's right.
Pastor Rinpoche?
Oh. Tani tera sunam sa shibate, sunam shibate sa ya samte, te sa pa kapta tera ta chung chok yung chung chok de nyuma pa chok de ne sengpang ne tera ne, te ke lidi chi pe chi chi da wa cha de choba chok de ne zugda chero de za de, oh te tini tere cha chi ngore, te da zo che ne 다 제 롱제 데르 차히소나 들이 도와도 양참 조요에 좋아 좋대 제 니가 배주 당드니데 사족ተ 블랑종 오데 랑게데 좋아 좋고 롱제 일에 되는 이파 생고만은 초바 펄 생고만하더니 이제 말라서 와랑근데 속았당 파 일을 갖고 오잖아데 때다 팽기를 들이 어 초바토데 때 많이 여기 봐 이마 내려도 좀 타고 그래 될년 뒤라 야사 쪽서버 남성 남들을 봐 삼성 소탈게 인우 접지 빵세 사 세게 인피 접지 저르송 피부체들을 사쪽서 저노래 상하게 남들 쳐봐지 상하게 되니 나디사와는 백합들이 남들 봐지 때라서 봐 주 소장하 좀 특별히 드린 거 초요래지.
To accumulate merit really means to accumulate loving kindness. When we accumulate merit, in accumulating merit, there are 6 faults that do arise. And these are the 6 afflictive emotions. And so it's mainly because we cherish our own body that we become attached to the 6 sensory objects. So our 6 kind of sense perceptions become attached to form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and so on. So therefore, by holding ourselves as most important, we continue to wander through the 6 realms over and over again, driven by these 6 kind of feelings, being attached to the 6 sense. And so, however, we can turn these 6 perceptions into the path of enlightenment. We still have those feelings, those 6 kinds of feelings in relation to 6 objects. We can direct toward others. For example, we can direct them toward others by making offerings or through being generous, making offerings to higher beings and being generous to sentient beings and so on. So we can direct these 6 sense perception toward benefiting others. And then ultimately, you realize that these 6 sense perceptions also empty of self-nature, do not inherently exist. Realizing their empty nature, you realize your true nature. And so to realize it, there are 3 levels of the 3 paths. The path of the individual liberation, the path of the heroes, and so on. And there is the path of the bodhisattvas, and then there is the Vajrayana. In the Pratimoksha, or individual liberation, the path of the heroes, the essence of that path is to abandon harming others completely. The bodhisattva path, the basis is to benefit others entirely in whatever you do. In the secret mantra, Vajrayana path, everything is taken as the path, everything becomes the path. And so here, there's no grasping. And so when there's no clinging, then whatever appears, whatever happens, is all taken as the path. It all becomes the path. And so these are the 3 levels of the path. So, Rinpoche?
Oh, yeah. There is that new bomba talk the Nibola, Royal, there is that young Taburis, Nasabotoro, new water, Jawana. Chui da the Yamni, Chui the Choga Yan the Yamni, lot of Yamni Kokap Chena, talk so in not the ma, the dinner, talk so in not the ma, the Rima, Hova Chajana, part of the Samato, the oh, cognition the Japaton Goret, Senate Maret, or then the Matron, no water in the Mareso, the new Japon was total. GP the Passandom or Nuki Tanagona, Ladon Sang, when Yil Pimasawa Tada, Karikapina, this hour the data sotari, so or never saw that bandit, Sultan has that sort of GP Sang took the Domare. You Gypsy Bandit, Sotar Domanan Sang Yoris, or they generally. There is 7 narrow tongues on Ranji, you can say with narrow tongue. New Nang Jol Nadom Tang, they did on shit on or yet, subject of the Taparja, your pin, or New Yata Nang Jol, Sahara, New Nang Jol, this Sahara, Langeran, but someday, or someday, you know, if they bang a sotar tongue. GP Jip from the Sajok and the Domba Tsang, Nuki Tanangon, Adam Tsang, Tanan, they're at the same town, said Dajo Karita over dinner, or Da Yin Nim Doctor Hakosan, there is a Hakosan, there is a Karita, Tanan, Nuki Tanan, Idi Ta, Royore, 데이터 다 상하가 남 고마라 시랍도 바르도 세는 때 하고 요리
So, so then, so the then how do we begin in the practice? So when we accumulate merit, so it means that we are essentially applying an antidote to the different methods, applying antidotes to the 6 afflictive emotions. And that's the purpose of the 3 levels of the path, to counteract the 6 afflictive emotions. And essentially, we must accumulate merit and purify the afflictive emotions. And then if one has the opportunity to practice the Dharma more intensively by practicing different rituals and practicing deities and so forth, then one engages in a practice of accumulating merit through the 7 branches. And from that perspective, one goes through 7 branches in order to get a merit. And from a more ordinary perspective, one trains in the 6 parameters. So as one goes in the world, one trains in the 6 parameters in order to accumulate that merit. And when you train in the 6 parameters, for example, you practice generosity toward others. You think that I have to be generous toward those who need, the impoverished, must not be stingy and hold back. Or I must be ethical. I must not harm others. And actually, that is the essence of the Pratimoksha vow of individual liberation. Abandoning all toward others, one upholds the Pratimoksha vow. Then accomplishing the benefit of others in whatever you do, that is the essence of the Bodhisattva vows. And when one sees the universe and all beings as pure, is a pure perception, is the essence of the Tantric vow. So in the Pratimoksha, when there's Pratimoksha vows to be taken, the essence of those is to abandon all harm toward others. When one abandons all harm, then one upholds the Pratimoksha. Then when one acts for the benefit of beings, one essentially upholds the Bodhisattva vow, which is the essence of the Bodhisattva. And then ultimately, when you see the natural state of the mind and you see the true nature of self and others, that is, to see them as they are purely, the tantric vows are complete. So in the tantric path of the Vajrayana, we train the mind in seeing all beings, everything as it really is, and that is pure. So, and these are the 3 levels of the path of practice. And so, whereby we purify our self-grasping. So, what we need to purify is that self, and ultimately it's the dualistic thinking, the dualistic perception, is to realize that there is no self and other, there is no duality. And you realize that you have understood the actual view of the Vajrayana. So the Vajrayana path is the higher perfecting wisdom. So when wisdom reaches its ultimate fruition, you understand the actual perspective of the secret mantra. That's all?
Tibetan Band talk tam chodo jabare de really ni bore de mangse ha ko yo mane de ha ko ya bore nyum wa to de bo sak tabande ajag ni bore ajate kare o nga suko in timbo in dokta mo nga kaya rem go san ten ajare chu suko timbo kan ri yana sani shebati de le jin jang son chu ran wan kan yo ma re de ta chu pa pa ko re o de lu ko cho jap chao ko do san chak ta re o ko cho sam ji ba de jap do go sa no na sam ti le jap do go do sa ajage yin la sa sa re yin la do cha da chen de yi bo chu ban be yin la so o do cha da chen na da so jo le ka go o ji nga ji lu ju de lo jo na nga ta da so yo fa o ta nga ji yu de yin na ko cho so na be sa ni mu se yin ba dang se bi so cha ta mi yin ba dang do cha da chu ban be de che yin ba dang yin a de sen le yin la re sen le yin bo re写单肯定我都不想过人那种，但写单的都是女木吧，也是种人的写单大别的光没说，写单的系统呢，得来下了吧的，写单你我都不想过家里，写单还过上头呢，哦，写单全部的进呢，让单写单过了对呢，哦，生活的生活差的嘞，写单好像就是做错刚有嘛，这个是内陆大些呢。你sem sa wo cha de se dang me long da we shi do ma ga ta tap de le so ta le se dang de su ba gong go le su ba gong ma ta li yo le de ma sa lo ta se dang rang wo jong de na ma ga la me de se dang me long da we shi do ni mong ni chi je se de pa cha ko ni na do na se dang de lang chon de ma ta de ya po ma se dang jong to ma ha ko go le ka pa tong de sa we ge za ya好做这个药包是送，西藏到地方没送，那个这个嘛那东西呢，但是给的好做这个人西藏给做有的，这种这些呢，西藏种的样这样子些呢，这西藏干的这也不嘛的是，到了三这都好个，这把下过去拿，西藏的下过去也都这下过我是，这差多个人不一岁了嘛，也拿送，这里怎么个人不了，去就好了，我们也拿是，差多人不差多的种有个，是买空气呀，我差别呀，我都差多没了，这去的人这里用个，差多有去好了也拿，这里怎么个人不去就好了，我们也拿着，怎么个人不咱来这边下过来的，去就好了，我也人把你上做成用的下过来，怎么个人不去就好了，我们也拿。这里太长个人不两个人们在为那种，这种上街有的没上过的，干嘛上街都有啥嘞？到上街有嘛？上街那些有人们上街偷的有的上街那个收了的呢，刚才他把有的吧，等等他把上街南看了，他们说南看了上街，这些这个有嘛？上街南看了大把有的，看了上街上街的这种西什么的呢？怎么了？这里去过了过那种这第二他把这种从这个的唱的，这唱出来的你说这给他牛毛把他的话拍下，给他的时候呢话的，看从身体上就上这种常见他们做完不上头呢，这看了做完，这时候他们是啥说呢？常见的那些的常见做这些个，咱们这么的所做的，那呢？모남다 모남게 타고로 초사시네 모남을 때리더니 소남에 답보자 토거래 되는 것을 심지 삼제 망보 요나야 소남에 답보자 초라다 참마 초라다 그래 뭐이라데 당 소남때 소남사부터 뭐이라서 뭐다 모남게나
Regarding the personal cakes, I'm hearing myself. So the seven, regarding the seven branches. So the seven branches is the best supreme method for accumulating merit. So essentially, each branch is an antidote to an afflictive emotion. And so that is something that maybe many people don't know about. So I mentioned it because it's very important to understand. So the first one of those 7 branches is prohibition. That is an antidote to pride. Normally we think that we know it best, we are the best, or we take pride in anything like our good body, our strength, and so forth. Or we just think we are confident, and we think that I don't need anyone, I don't need anyone's help. But then when you die, all that follows you is your karma and not your strong body, your abilities. At that point, then you have no self-control. And then you are defeated by your own karma. So it's important to have refuge in the 3 jewels. We prostrate, we pay homage to the 3 jewels. And so that is that takes away our, and that also we prostrate on the basis of a mind of great love. And the next branch is the branch of offering, which is an antidote to greed. And that is, now normally we always think of, I need this, I need that. It's all everything that I need, that I want. But instead, one can turn that around by thinking that if one gets something, I'm offering this to the 3 jewels. I'm giving this to a sentient being. I'm generous. I'm going to give this away. This I'm practicing the second branch. And then the third branch is confession, which is mainly an antidote to hatred or anger. And that actually is the worst of all the afflictions, of the 84,000 afflictions. Because it is said that moment of hatred, of anger, destroy the roots of virtue accumulated in the thousands of years. So that is generally the case. However, if you understand the true nature of anger, then that can itself actually transform into primordial wisdom. When great moment of anger arises, you look directly at it, what you see is that in that moment of anger, your mind is actually more clear than before. Your mind is very clear when you're angry. You see it directly, you see there is nothing there. There's no shape, no color. There is just this clear mind, this fierce, clear mind. And that is why we call the seeing of the anger the mirror-like wisdom, the mirror-like primordial wisdom. So this is a skillful means of the secret mantra. In the moksha, individual liberation, we must meditate on patience when anger arises. But even that is harder sometimes. And so what we can do when we can't practice patience, then we turn to Vajrayana and look directly at the nature of that anger. And that is a way of transforming it into mirror-like wisdom. In brief, the wisdom is also what sees the fault. We said a moment of anger destroys the roots of virtue gathered over many thousands of years. And wisdom understands faults in anger. Therefore, in order not to lose our roots of virtue, we dedicate them. For example, if you just recite a single mantra, is love, you give that away for sentient beings, and the anger goes away completely. It's important to understand the faults of anger, to think about the anger over and over again. And with this wisdom that then arises, this wisdom then must develop love, must cultivate love. In this way, we are able to confess or purify the anger. And then number 4 is rejoicing. Rejoicing is the antidote to jealousy. jealousy rises all the time, and we think that maybe that person is this person better than me or not? Maybe that they're better than me. There is such small thoughts that arise in this very sneaky way. And then next fifth, requesting to turn the wheel of dharma, an antidote to ignorance. So requesting the wheel of dharma is an antidote to ignorance, because we can only, when we hear the dharma, can we come to understand how things really are. And therefore, it becomes an antidote to ignorance. And then next is to supplicate, to turn the wheel, to not pass into nirvana. That's an antidote to doubt. Doubt, for example, if you think that there was a Buddha, I believe that there was a Buddha in the past, but the Buddha is no longer here. As now it has passed away. That's a doubt one may have. But actually, if once we supplicate not to pass into nirvana, what that really means is that the Buddha never really passed, because the Buddha's mind is still present, because it's like space. Space will never go away. The Buddha himself said, whoever is able to think of me, the Buddha, I will be right with them. Just like space, space is never born, it never dies. So the Buddha's mind is always ever present. But to remind us of that, we supplicate to not pass into nirvana. And number 7 is to dedicate acts of virtue. It's important to remember that even if we perform just a small virtues, to perform it perfectly, we have to dedicate that virtue for the benefit of others. If you do so, you join with the virtue, the merit of all the Buddhas of the time. And so in this way, everything becomes magnificent. And we can make actually an arranged offering, or we can mentally send it away through dedication. And so the Buddha, this is what how the Buddha had really accumulated merit for these 3 endless eons. He made it grow stronger and stronger through the power of meditation. Through the power of meditation, the merit can be increased. We can hold on to that merit. Sentient beings actually merit. Every sentient being has love. They're always wasted because they don't hold on to it. They don't dedicate it. And that is why they're still sentient beings. Dedication is the method, the skillful method to increase and hold on to one's merit. And so that is the last inch of mission and dedication.
Zri tāsata, ngāki yāng, kitashi yāsi, tētā, jī nōgō tī, yāngchār shēchē tērā sōpa, yāng tātā, gōngtā shēyā yōre tī nē, rāshidrē yō.
So maybe I've become a little bit forgetful, so I just might be repeating myself. Maybe I'm repeating certain points over and over again. And if that's what happened, then I would like to apologize for that. I'm sorry for that. But I should like.
Tata, Kangni dinatini, Tata, Chitini, Lokata Jangsi yore, Loyang Lengi yore, they have the pain, same day, 17 times the pain go, so the same day I am going to tell you, some pain go, some of the summer, Tapu Sunam, Royore, Natipuya Wachago, Masam, oh, they got the chance that summer, 17 times the pain, and yore, 17 times the pain go, some. They some sanitary, 참 쓰는 거 소는 도요래 하자 싸치 모래 누가 싸와답지 하자 싸치 모래 요가잖아 로양리야다 답지 하자 싸치 모래.
One more thing I wanted to mention is that you come here and you practice yoga, you sing spiritual songs. All of that is very beneficial because you do so for the sake of all sentient beings. You sing those songs of love. Really, that is what brings the greatest benefit. This is actually how you are continuously accumulating merit in whatever you do. Because by doing that, you are not thinking only of your. That actually applies to just this, but anything you do, even if you do a normal job, whatever you do, if you think of the benefit of others, everything you do becomes an accumulation of merit, no matter what it is. So in your case, you are directing your body and speech toward virtue. So with your bodies, you are practicing yoga, and with your speech, you are singing spiritual songs. And that is extremely precious because it comes from this specific intention to benefit others. And so therefore, your practice here of yoga and singing songs, it gathers an immense amount of merit and is very precious.
Tare tu